guys, so it's me, Nicolette Mashile. I'm also known as the Financial Bunny. Welcome to the Financial Bunny TV. I'm so glad to be able to do this video because I have not been able to do any videos in the last week due to an injury. I fell down my stairs and I actually injured my neck and my shoulder. So yeah, I've gone through hell. And then on the Friday last week, I found out that one of the most special, kindest human beings in my life passed away. But anyway, I'm not here to tell you guys that. Before I even get into the video, please do remember that none of my videos constitute as financial advice. If you are looking for financial advice, please do speak to somebody who is certified and registered with the TFSA. So I'm sure you've seen many of the financial institutions using, scarcity vibe tactics. Oh my goodness, hurry up before the 28th of February. Make sure you are contributing and maxing out your TFSA. The world is coming to an end. No, the world is not coming to an end. The world is not coming to an end. It just simply means the financial year is coming to an end. 1st of March 2022 to 28th of February 2023 is the financial year, which means that, for instance, your TFSA, that is what they're going to count as a year. So remember your tax-free savings account, you can contribute it annually. 36,000 is the maximum that you can contribute, and you've got a lifetime limit of 500,000 Rand. So when it gets to the 28th of February, it means you must have contributed what you would have wanted to contribute in that year. Other words, when March starts again, you're starting a new slate and a new year. Right, very, very important. But what is the TFSA and why should you be contributing to it? Well, the tax-free savings account is exactly that. It's a tax-free account. So that means that whatever you contribute towards that specific account, you will not be taxed on its earnings and the money that you've put in there. So you're not going to be taxed on interest. You're not going to be taxed on capital gains. You're not going to be taxed on any dividends that you make in that specific account. Very, very important. And that is why it's got a limit to it every single year. And it's also got a lifetime. The limit for each and every single year, or financial year rather, is 36,000. And then the annual limit is 500,000. This is really so that those who are far more wealthy do not abuse this actual financial instrument. Because you can imagine me and you can only contribute 36,000 every single year. Some of us can't even reach that 36,000 Rand. And the rich could even just take the 500,000 Rand at once, put it all in there and just sit and wait it out and actually earn money tax-free. So also very important to remember that it's called the tax-free savings account. When it started, a majority of it was based on, investing in cash and bonds. So you were going to be earning an interest, but now it's opened up to real estate, investing in equity. So that's why you can either earn dividends or you could even earn capital gains from your TFSA, right? Or the make of whatever makes up your TFSA. So some people may call it also the tax-free shares account. So, but the acronym is TFSA. And basically it was one way in which the government was trying to really encourage savings in South Africa. Now, it is not a retirement fund. It is not a retirement fund. It does not fall under the Pensions Act. So it is not governed by the Pensions Act law. So that's also very important to remember. So a lot of people will say, yeah, I'm contributing to a pension at work, but then I'm also contributing to my TFSA. Am I going to go above the limit? No. If you're contributing through a pension fund or a retirement fund that is sponsored by your employer, or even a retirement annuity, you've got up to 27.5% of your taxable income that you can invest into those funds tax-free, remember. So it's important to understand this, right? It's important to understand that you can invest in those tax-free up to 27.5, and I think in numbers it's up to 350,000 Rand. With the TFSA, you can only contribute 36,000 per financial year. Very important. Anything else that you put in there above the 36,000 each and every single year is, why am I speaking so funny? Anything you invest in there that is above the 36,000 rand a financial year is going to be taxed at a flat rate of 40%, no matter what tax bracket you're in. I know that in South Africa, we love using the tax bracket as a bragging, right? Which is stupid because actually, to be fair, if you're in a higher tax bracket, great, kudos to you that you're earning more money, but the government is chowing your money, okay? Can you imagine paying almost 40% in tax? That's literally almost half of what you earn. But you're the one who wakes up every single morning, 5 a.m. club. Oh my goodness. Anyway, I'm digressing. So anything over and above the limit, if you go above the limit, it will be charged at a flat percentage of 40% by the South African Revenue Services, that is SARS. And also remember, very, very, very important, if you do withdraw from your TFSA in a financial year, you cannot replace what you have withdrawn. So let's say, for instance, between the 1st of March 2022 and the 28th of February 2023. Let's say in January, you had to buy a school uniform. So you withdrew 5,000 rand. You can't replace that 5,000 rand. You can only contribute up to 36,000. So if you had already, let's say by Jan, contributed 36,000 rand, it means that 5,000 you withdrew, you cannot replace it. The TFSA, the rules will see you as somebody that is already fully capacitated in terms of your contributions. Very important. The one other question that I get quite a lot of people saying, okay, do I have to be at the max? You don't have to be at the max. You just don't go over the 36,000 rand. Does the withdrawal also count against your 500,000 a year? Yes. Lifetime? Yes. So if, for instance, at some point in your life, let's say you are into year 5 of contributing into your TFSA, and maybe you've got like 100K sitting in there, and you've got an emergency, and you withdraw that 100,000 rand, you are subtracting from the 500,000 limit. We are sitting waiting for the budget speech to be delivered to see if there will be any changes to the TFSA. We're crossing fingers that there are changes. At least the annual limit or even the lifetime limit needs to be shifted a little bit. I do think many South Africans could really do with just having a TFSA that is doing and performing really well. So I do think you must keep that in mind. The other thing that I just saw from Andre Botma, he does tax issues. He just mentioned something on his Twitter account, and he said, do not try to max out your TFS. He actually spoke about the RA, which is the retirement annuity, on the last day, which is the 28th. I would say it also rings true for the TFSA. Don't try next week Tuesday to try and contribute the balance that you need to contribute because you're trying to reach the 36,000 still within the financial year, because you don't know when it's going to get processed. It's important. If somebody decides to process that thing, or your bank delays or something, and it only gets processed on the 1st of March 2023, it now goes into the next financial year. So that could throw you off in terms of your totals. So it's very important to watch out for those things. But of course, on an RA, it's probably far much more dire than it is on the TFSA, right? But it is also, I think, good advice for that specific thing, right? And then the other thing is, if you, for instance, started your TFSA when many of us started, when it was still really a tax-free savings account, and it was really based, I mean, our makeup, the asset underlining our actual fund was bonds or cash, and now you're looking to go into one that is giving you exposure to equity, to real estate and all of that, and you want to move your TFSA. Please remember, don't withdraw the money and then go start a new TFSA, because that is going to count as a withdrawal. Rather, contact your next TFSA service provider and ask them what is the process of transferring your TFSA. Please, guys, don't withdraw it. If you withdraw it, it counts as a withdrawal, and you don't want to put yourself in those situations where you are now withdrawing and it's counting as a withdrawal, and it feels like a mess. It sounds like a mess. It just becomes a mess. So again, I know that it is very encouraging, of course, to max out your TFSA, but don't put yourself under unnecessary pressure. The last and not least thing that I want to say is, often we get asked, is a TFSA a viable account for an emergency fund? It's a difficult one to answer, because at the end of the day, personal finance is personal, right? However, think about it this way. One, It's an account where you want it to maximize its exposure in terms of asset classes, which means you want to open up your exposure to equity, you want to open up your exposure to real estate, to gold, to bonds, to cash, all sorts of things. So those different asset classes don't behave the same at all times. Some of them may go down, some of them may go up, fluctuations and all of that. That's one. Two, so you want to give it time, basically is what I'm saying. Two, if you withdraw, you can't replace. If you withdraw, you can't replace. And you're ultimately also reducing your lifetime limit. Right? It doesn't make sense. Three, you only have a limit of 36,000 Rand. Only have a limit of 36,000 Rand. So if you, for instance, have maybe clocked 18,000 Rand by Jan, and then you've got a huge emergency, 15,000, you withdraw 15,000, you can't replace that 15,000 Rand. So it's worth really setting up a meeting with your financial advisor. I would say if you are going to be trying to max your TFSA, this Friday probably should be the day that you try to do it by. I know people haven't been paid, and payday is only next week for some people, but maybe then just wait for the next year. Wait for a new year. There's no rush. Don't feel pressured. The most craziest thing about personal finance is the fact that financial institutions are still money-making companies, and they will pressure you into doing things. Speak to your financial advisor and find what is the right and ideal thing for you. Okay, I'll see you guys on the next one. Mwah.